a bonus little short lecture edition about creating like a cartoon material because this always ends up popping up as something that people want to do, and I should just hit it head on. So real fast, let's look at Blender. Now we let me move this. Let me move this. Make myself a little smaller. There we go. Okay. Doing so the first consideration is actually which render engine we're wanting to use. So this cartoon shade thing is like sort of a lo-fi situation, and if we think of cycles as being the like hi-fi type of renders, Eevee is actually going to serve us better um, with serve us better in making a lo-fi cartoon material. So I'm going to start with a monkey like this. And I'm going to give it Control 3 for subsurface modifier, and I'm going to right click and shade smooth. So let's just put Suzanne here in cartoon mode. And I'm also going to go render preview like this. Okay. So you may think to start with the toon shader, and you can. Let me just do it like this, and just kind of we can get a sense of what it's doing here. But it actually hasn't done anything. Am I looking at the right situation here? Anyway, but we're not going to do that. We're actually going to delete this. We're going to delete material 001. Am I like frozen or something? Okay. And let's go to our shading workspace. Let's go to render preview like this. So first, let's just add a regular old material, principled BSDF. There are a couple nodes we can go between principled BSDF and our material output. So I'm assuming you've already watched the lecture for week 6. So this is week 6, part 2. So this one is the first thing you're gonna add is Shift A, search, and you want shader to RGB. That's the next one here. Okay. And then the following thing you want is a color ramp. So if you Shift A and search for ramp, color ramp, there it is. Oops, I did the wrong one. Shift A, search, ramp, color ramp, enter. All right, and then this one goes between the shader to RGB and material output. So we're going, the shader is going out BSDF into this shader. Then we're going to take the color value, turn it into the factor here, and then change that to a color ramp, and then output that into our material. So right now it looks as if nothing has changed. But now we have some options here. So color ramp. Color ramp is actually one you may end up using quite a bit. So a linear color ramp is just kind of changing. It's a gradual change of all the colors between white and black, but you can obviously change all these. So like if I change this black here to like blue, now it's fading from white to blue instead of white to black. And so maybe you can predict here that like we can change this to be like exactly one color. But exactly one color maybe isn't exactly what you want. So if, right now this color ramp is set to, it was linear, but we want it to be constant. So it's constant colors. So you can actually see right now that it is having kind of a unique effect. And maybe this is what you want right here. So like it to be one color, and just like the highlights are in white. So you can kind of move these. You can zoom in here. You can move these colors around to kind of change the amount here. I think a cool thing that people do, you can add another one in here and change this value of blue to be just like a little lighter blue like this. So you can have kind of a cool two-tone with highlights situation happening here. Or add in a few like this. This is sort of reminds me of like a video game thing like this. That it's like, oh yeah, it's lo-fi, but it's got just a little bit of interest by having a couple different colors. Or you can remove these, hit the minus button, you just have two like that. That's kind of a cool effect. Or like maybe you even want your highlight to be not white. Maybe you want this to be pink. I don't know, something like that. We'll change it back to white. The other thing that is usually pretty popular is to have, like, think of like Borderlands, the black outline of things. This it's actually kind of it doesn't happen the way you expect, and this is just a trick that I've seen done that seems to work pretty well. So we're actually going to add a modifier. So we've got Suzanne selected. We're going to go to the modifiers tab, and we're going to add a solidify modifier. Where is it? Solidify right here. And normals. So there's just like a couple settings that you have to change first before you do this. So normals, we have to flip the normals. And that basically, so remember the normals are like what it determines the outside of it. We're going to flip the normals for the solidify. And actually we haven't created our other material yet, so we'll leave this alone. So back on our materials tab. So we have material 002. We'll just call this like cartoon. And let's add another one right on top here. So this one, we'll hit new here, and this one is going to be, we're going to call this one outline. Instead of a principled BSDF, let's actually just make this emission. It'll work a little bit better for emission. And we want to change our emission color to black because we want to do like a cool little black outline thing here. Great. So we've got our cartoon material that has this color ramp. So remember, it goes principled BSDF, then shader to RGB, then color ramp, then to the material output. And then we also have our outline, which is an emission that goes to the surface. Okay, back to the modifier. So we added this solidify modifier. We flipped the normals, and we want the material to be, so this says offset material index of generated faces. We want this to be the first one. And let's see what this has done. This is not quite how I expected it to go. Oh, I forgot one key step. So back in the material properties here, there's this thing, back face culling. It says use back face culling to hide the back side of faces. So remember, we flipped the normals, and so this is going to hide. It maybe is hard to wrap your head around this because it is kind of complicated, but backface culling is going to hide the backs of these. But remember, we put the backs all the way around the outside of it. So by clicking that, we're actually just now left with the little outlines between things here. And so maybe you're pleased with how this looks off the bat. It's just a little tiny black stroke around things. But if we go back to the modifier, you can change the thickness just a little bit before it starts to get kind of goofy. So yeah, you can change the thickness, like it's 0.02. Maybe you can go to like minus 0.03. But even that, maybe like minus 0.025. Something like that. Or go the other way, 0.025. Maybe that was it, minus 0.02. Maybe that's the sweet spot right there. So this is a way to kind of get kind of a cartoony look. So just to kind of recap, first we have our just regular cartoon shader, and we just used a regular principled BSDF. We have shader to the shader to RGB node. The color goes into the factor color ramp, and you can kind of set which colors you want here, kind of where you want highlights and lowlights, what colors you want it to be, etc. Make sure that this one is set to constant rather than linear, because then it's going to just look like a normal whatever. So set that to constant. And then that color output goes to the surface. Then we also have outline. The outline material that is a black emission. That's all that is. But then we also have this solidify material on here. Normal set to flip, material offset set to 1, and then back here on our outline material, we're backface culling. So it's clearing out all of the space between. And it looks pretty cool. Now, there are ways to do this in cycles. but why bother? It's way more complicated, and you don't need, if you're doing a cartoon material, you don't need the advanced features of cycles. Anyway, 10 minutes. That was it. Good luck. Goodbye.